Hey, this is Barack Lesnar of Barack Lesnar Hoops doing a live stream with my week 2 breakdown. And this breakdown, I'm very excited to share it with you. It's going to go into the week 2 schedule, and we are going to target the best streamers. We're going to target the teams that are playing on the light days, the teams that are playing 4 games, the teams that are playing 4 games, and also playing on the light days. Before we get started, do me a favor and smash that like button for me and subscribe to Barack Lesnar Hoops if you have not yet. Let's get started. So here you have the resource that I put together for you guys. The light days this week and typically are going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. The heavy days this week are going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So the bottom line is that week 2 is loaded with 4-game volume. The best schedules, you're looking at Charlotte, the Golden State Warriors, and you're looking at OKC. They have multiple light days with Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And if you load up on players, especially your streamers on the lighter days, what you prevent is those Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday load ups where it seems like, oh, I have a bunch of 4-game players. But what happens is you have 2 to 3 guys sitting on the bench, which could have been 2 to 3 guys that instead you have playing on these light days. That's why there's strategic value in streaming these players. So right now in diamond tier leagues, the guys that are flying off of the waiver wires are AJ Mitchell. He's been producing even with the return of Case and Wallace. He still had a very strong game. So pick him up. He's available in a lot of deep leagues still. Cedric Coward is also being picked up heavily along with Sam Merrill. So Clippers only have 2 games this week. So you might want to avoid any streamers. And maybe if you have someone like Brook Lopez, I dropped him in a few leagues. Not only were the minutes low, but a very weak schedule for week 2. So Monday, you want to grab OKC, Orlando, and players from the Golden State Warriors. You want to hold them on Tuesday because they're going to play again on that light day. And then on Sunday, you can get rid of those guys. And if you have any streaming spots available, you can pick up some guys on your final day to take full advantage of those spots that you have. All right, so the guys that have 4 games and also play on some light days. So these are like the optimal schedules. AJ Mitchell, we just talked about him. He plays 4 games this week, plays Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, is averaging 18.7 points, 4.3 assists, and a steal per game. So everything is lining up for him to be a top pickup this week and potentially beyond this week. Wendell Carter Jr. right now is only 22% rostered, is getting you 9.7 rebounds per game, is getting you a block per game, low-end double-double potential, plays Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So if you need some rebounds, you need some traditional big man numbers. I'd say even in a 12-team league, if he's your last big, that might be a good spot for him. So he does play on that light day Thursday. So he's a decent target for you at the center position. Then you got Khan with 15 points, 2.3 3-pointers made, 56.8% from the field, 17% rostered, also plays 4 games this week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. The Charlotte Hornets are playing their rookies a lot of minutes, and it looks like they're prioritizing their development. So it makes sense to pick them up as a stream with those light days, Tuesday and Thursday, as well as Saturday. Optimal pickup, and you could get some threes, and on occasion, you might get some steals and blocks from them as well. Colin Sexton of the Charlotte Hornets is only 30% rostered right now. Plays 4 games this week as well, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, averaging 18.7 points, 56% from the field, 4.3 assists. So he's been a decent target right now. There was some question marks around what his role would be on his new team, but historically he has been a strong scorer that can help your field goal percentage and your free throw percentage. He doesn't get a ton of threes. He doesn't get a bunch of steals and blocks, but he can get you some assists. Decent target right now if you want a score that isn't going to kill your percentages. 56% from the field for a point guard getting you almost 19 points per game is pretty enviable. All right. We got Brandon Pajinski with 5 rebounds from the guard position. So he's a pretty good rebounder, getting you 1.3 steals, getting you close to 9 points per game. Plays today, Tuesday, Thursday, as well as Saturday. Drop him Sunday, pick somebody else up. He's not producing great right now, so he's probably more of a streamer for you this week. Discard of him Sunday and pick somebody up Sunday and load up on as many games as you can with players that fit the Brock Lesnar hoops model. And if you have any questions, leave them in the chat after I've gone through this video. I want to have a conversation with you guys and answer any questions that you may have. I appreciate you joining me on this live stream. I was going to record the video, but I decided, you know what, let me just jump on and do it as a live stream. So apologies if it's not as polished as my regular videos are, but that's the price to be here live. We're doing it live, guys. We're doing it live. Jonathan Kuminga, this guy is on the Warriors, but does have, I think, some season-long value. He's 46% rostered, so he's still pretty widely available. He was a lot more available just a week ago. He's averaging 15.7 points, 7.3 rebounds, 55.2% from the field. He plays today, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I would hold on to him, though. If you have him, I wouldn't drop him on Sunday. I think he has season-long value. So the 4-game schedules on heavy days. So these are guys that are going to be mostly playing on these heavy days. And if you load up on too many of these guys and you already have a lot of players on your roster already playing on the heavy days, this is how you end up with dead weight on your bench. And you want to avoid that as much as possible. I hate nothing more than seeing somebody go off on the bench because my schedule and my roster was not optimized. You should optimize your streaming spots. So just a little note of caution for you. Sam Merrill with the Cleveland Cavaliers is 19% rostered, plays 4 games this week, 19.3 points, 5 3-pointers made, 100% from the free throw line so far this season. He has some streamer appeal. I'm curious how he'll continue to produce once Darius Garland returns, which we heard should be in early November. So we're talking about here in the next week and a half. But I think he has the potential to help you potentially, saying potentially a lot, for the rest of the season. Grayson Allen, 25% rostered, has 4 games this week as well. Plays today, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, averaging 15.7 points and almost 4 3-pointers made while getting you 5.7 assists. Only 25% rostered, guys, and Jalen Green is not back yet. And I don't believe they've announced when he should be returning, which means that Grayson Allen, at least for the short term, has some 12-team value. Kelly Oubre, the Tsunami Poppy, is only 13% rostered, plays 4 games this week, making him a deep league gem. He's averaging 14.5 points, a steal, 56.3% from the field. So he's a guy you can normally pick up because he's a reliable scorer and can get you some steals. His percentages tend to be spotty, especially from the free throw line. But as a streamer, you could do a whole lot worse, especially in a deeper format. He plays today, plays tomorrow, plays Friday, and plays Sunday. Quentin Grimes is another high potential player on that 76ers roster. It seems like they're just loaded with young guys blowing up on a nightly basis. Quentin Grimes plays 4 games this week, just like Tsunami Poppy, but he's getting you 17 points, 3 3-pointers made, and shooting 100% from the free throw line, and has that light game tomorrow. So if he's available, you might want to give him a look. So these are the players that are trending real big right now. We just talked about him a little bit earlier for Cedric Howard with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies guard rotation is decimated right now. They are hurting, and Cedric Howard has stepped up and is owning the opportunity. He's getting you 19 points, 2.7 3-pointers made, shooting 70.4% from the field. He is the top pickup in diamond tier leagues right now. So go give your waiver wire a look. And if he's there, even in a 12-team league, maybe some 10-team leagues, pick him up and see if he could continue this hot streak. Now, do keep in mind, we just started week 2. So what you're seeing might right now may not be sustainable. So don't drop anyone that might have stronger, safer value for the rest of the season just because they had a slow start, and then somebody that's relatively unknown and teams aren't game planning for you. Because what happens is these guys start really hot. So then opposing teams go, well, we can't continue to ignore him. We have to game plan specifically to stop him. And they'll watch hours and hours of footage. They'll go through all the data, figure out his exact weaknesses. And now before you know it, this guy that you thought would kill for you all season is now shooting 35% from the field and really hurting your team. So don't drop any season-long value for somebody just because they've gone off in the first week. Another note of caution. Trey Jones, 12.5 points, 8 assists, getting you 1.5 steals per game. I love him because of the assist to turnover ratio as well as the steals potential. Kobe White is out a couple of weeks dealing with a calf injury, which means he should have plenty of runway to help you for the next couple of weeks at least, and potentially even the rest of the season if he continues to play like this. So the light day specialists. So these are guys that don't have 4 games, but the 3 games they do play happen to fall on the light days. And if you think about it, is it more helpful to have a 4-game week if they're going to be on the heavy days and end up on your bench? Or is it better to have that 3-game week where it's all on your light days? That's how you avoid that dead weight. Ryan Rollins on the Milwaukee Bucks is only 11% rostered right now. He's another deep league gem that's getting you 4.3 assists, 2.7 steals, 4.3 rebounds. He plays Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Ideal streamer, probably not going to have strong season-long value once you have Kevin Porter Jr. back, which should be in the next several games, hopefully. So we had a couple of guards that started the season in underwhelming fashion, have some pretty decent games. Dennis Schroeder, 38% rostered, averaging 16.3 points, 7.3 assists, 2.3 three-pointers made, plays Tuesday, plays Wednesday, and plays Saturday. D'Angelo Russell, 29% rostered, averaging 10.3 points, 4 assists, and getting you 2 3-pointers. Had a very strong game last night after laying a couple of eggs his first couple of games. Somebody else I have my eye on this week is AJ Green with games on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. He's getting you 13.3 points, 2.1 3-pointers made, shooting 43.3% from the field. He's another player that I think on this Milwaukee Bucks team has some season-long value. They gave him a pretty sizable contract, and when a team pays someone, the best way to get a return on their investment is to give them minutes and the opportunity to pay off as an investment. So AJ Green, only 8% rostered. I predict we'll see that closer to 30% here in the next couple of weeks. So some other players for you to consider that are some solid depth options that are still widely available. Dylan Harper, 27% rostered, plays 3 games this week, is averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4.3 assists. He has games on Monday, Thursday, and on Sunday. So you get the light day on Thursday for a guy that had a really strong game last game and should have some opportunity until De'Aaron Fox returns, which I don't think we've had a target return date as of yet. Kevin Huerter, more of a deep league special, only 6% rostered, plays 4 games this week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, but he's averaging 13.6 rebounds and 3 assists, which is nice production for a guy that's available in 94% of leagues. So if you're in one of those deeper formats, Kevin Huerter is a guy that you should consider picking up. Rui Hachimura, 26% rostered, plays Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, so all heavy day action from him, but still widely available on waiver wires. Luka Doncic is out for the next week at least, dealing with leg issue, and he's dealing with a finger injury as well, which means that Rui Hachimura steps up in the pecking order on an offense that's already also missing LeBron James. So I think he makes for a strong streamer this week, unless you already have a lot of guys playing on the heavy days for you. Keldon Johnson, only 6% rostered, plays 3 games this week. Another deep league gem. I picked him up in one of my really deep formats just as a screw it. It's Sunday. I have the slot. Maybe he'll do something for me. In the past, he's been a pretty legitimate scorer that didn't really get you steals or blocks. But so far this season, averaging 12.7 points, 7 rebounds, 63.6% from the field. And he does play on Thursday, which is one of those light days. So even though he only has 3 games, he could potentially be more helpful than a 4-game week player that is just going to end up on your bench on one of those heavy days. All right, so that is my week 2 breakdown. I'm about to minimize this and see if you guys have asked any questions. Do me a favor if you have not yet and subscribe to Brock Lesnar Hoops. I know a lot of you watch these videos and haven't subscribed, but it really helps. I'm on the verge of 4,000 subscribers. It's taken me way longer than it should have, but I haven't put in the commitment that I should have into building this community, but I promise you I'm putting in that commitment right now. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got. We got a salute to you as well. I haven't covered Portland much yet, no, but you know what? Let me do some more research because I don't want to pull something out of my rear end. But if you have any specific questions, let me know now. Would you drop Beal or Isaiah Collier for Ryan Rollins? I mean, Isaiah Collier, you should be able to put him in your IL slot. So if you don't have an IL slot, though, there's no point in carrying dead weight. Beal, there's just a lot of mouths to feed. And even if there weren't a lot of mouths to feed on the Clippers, he's just shown himself to be a very unreliable player as far as his health. So that would concern me with Beal. But it's still so early that you also don't want to be the guy where Beal goes on a healthy stretch and is doing what Chris Middleton is kind of doing in Washington and producing better than people may have thought. Jeremy seems to disagree with me, though, and says that Beal is a waste of time. That's a very strong response. So maybe Jeremy's correct on that one. Any other questions? Is that it? That was my breakdown. I'm trying to make these breakdowns more concise. So I'm spending a lot of time putting everything together and making sure that I can give you the insight, the value as quickly as possible, because I know you have a lot of things to do with your day. I know I have a lot of things to do with my day. And one of the things I'm focused on doing this season is just being more concise with my video productions. Mark Williams, the center on the Suns. I mean, it's concerning he's not playing back-to-backs. But if you drafted him, you kind of had to draft him knowing he's always been an injury liability. Kind of like drafting Embiid. If you draft Embiid, that's something you have to be aware is just a reality. So with Mark Williams, if you can't stomach him missing 1 game every back-to-back, if you can't stomach him potentially missing a week and a half, then you should either drop him or see if you could package him in a trade for somebody else. You grab him for his upside, similar to Kristaps Porzingis, a very similar player that gets injured often, but when he does produce, he produces some of the best production that a big man can give you. They're efficient from the field. They're efficient from the free throw line. He gets you blocks. He gets you rebounds. He can score in limited minutes. He doesn't turn over the ball a lot. So that's the gamble that you have to take, and you just have to decide for yourself what your risk appetite is. Aaron Naismith, man, I feel like he helped me win a championship last year because I needed a glue player that would score and also pad my field goal percentage, my free throw percentage. And I had a lot of steals and block streamers and players on my team already, so I wasn't that concerned about him not helping me there. So Aaron Naismith, I think, fits great in that sort of role. If you need a glue player to give you a boost to your scoring and also pad your field goal percentage and your free throw percentage without hurting your turnovers. But if you don't have a lot of steals and blocks, guys, then he's not as useful. Terry Eason, do we believe in him? I mean, Terry Eason is either injured or not getting enough minutes, and then there's an injury, and then he gets starter minutes for a game, and then he gets you 4 steals and 5 blocks and 8 assists and just has a wild game. But there are other young players on that Rockets team that they're prioritizing, such as Amon. So It's hard to tell you that we believe in him in a 12-team league. Probably there are stronger, more reliable options with more reliable playing time and more reliable usage. In a deeper format, you for sure want to pick him up because there should be garbage on your waiver wire, and his defensive potential is so high that it's worth the gamble in that situation. We have 24 people on this stream. That's pretty cool. That makes me happy. Yes, 25 now. Ask your questions. I'm in a good mood now. I was a little tired and sleep deprived, but it's all good. We're going to make it happen. It's week 2. Let me know how your teams are doing in the comments, by the way, because I'm curious. There was one league I'm in. I should show you guys because it was bad, man. It was real bad. I lost 9-0. I almost shut my YouTube channel down. I'm like 9-0. That's rough. But it's week 1, guys. You can't let week one can sometimes be a bit of a mirage. These guys haven't played for months. Rotations are still being figured out. Guys are still rusty from not playing professional competitive basketball to this degree for months. It takes a couple of weeks. I'd say around December is when you start seeing what guys are really going to be. And if they're doing really poorly right now, you're going to see them make up for it in December when they start having 50-point games on 80% shooting, and then they end up closer to their season averages from the past seasons. Oh, you want me to show you my Derek Queen? Derek Queen has some upside as well. I looked into him the other day because a friend of mine that I play in one of my leagues brought him up and said, hey, I really like Derek Queen on the Pelicans. So definitely the upside is there. And DeJounte Murray, if he does come back, isn't coming back, I'm assuming, until closer to January or February. So there should be some value there, at least in deeper formats. Jeremy says he followed my advice this year in all leagues, and he is pleased with the results. Salute to you. Hey, man, I've been playing since 2007, I want to say. And before I ever started a channel, I wanted to start a channel way before I did. But my thing was I don't want to make a channel and share expertise if I'm not an expert. It wasn't until 2018 that I decided to finally start my channel. And at that point, I had been diamond tier like 7 different times. So at that point, I thought to myself, I can share this insight. Now, today, I'm 100% confident that this formula that I share with you is tried, it's tested, it survived different eras of the NBA. You just have to think, when I first started playing, the NBA had a lot of big men playing from the post. The Suns were really the only team playing in a way that teams play now. Now, every single team plays like the Suns were playing back then when Sean Marion was the #1 fantasy basketball player. If you've been around long enough to remember that, give me a comment, give me a ding, do something to let me know that you remember that. Reed Shepard is starting to scare me, man. Not only did they not start him in the minutes he's getting, he's being really inefficient, and he was inefficient his rookie season as well. I chalked it up to, it being his rookie season. But what I was banking on was with Fred VanVleet being injured, that they would want to play him as a traditional point guard. They invested an early round pick on him just last season. But like I said before, it's still really early in the process. I saw him on the waiver wire in a different league and was strongly drawn to try to pick him up. I didn't end up doing it, but to me, that shows there's still value to be had, and that if you panic drop him now, he might get it together in the next few weeks, start putting up some really strong games, might secure that starting role. And if he doesn't get that starting role, if he gets 28 to 30 minutes per game, he could be really useful. And now you regret the fact that you dropped him. That's always the chance that you have to take anytime you make these drops. You might feel good about it today, but what will you feel in a month when you're looking at your team and the guy you believed in and gave up on is doing exactly what you predicted he would do, and you didn't trust your instincts enough? So I'm holding on just a little bit longer, but I'd say if by next week I don't see an improvement in his role, I don't see an improvement in his minutes, and I don't see an improvement in his efficiency, I'm probably going to cut bait. Do I see Rollins maintaining 25 to 26 minutes per game? That's a good question. I think it's definitely possible on this new look Milwaukee Bucks, but until they have Kevin Porter Jr. back playing his full allotment of minutes, it's really hard to say how reliable that production is. I'm assuming you have Kevin Porter Jr. higher in the pecking order. You have Gary Trent Jr., who's competing for those guard minutes. And then you have Green, who's also playing for those minutes. In a deeper format, I'd feel a lot safer with him. 14 teams or deeper. In a 12-team league, I would hold off for right now. Vincent says, let me tell you why Brock Lesnar Hoops is my number one for fantasy. The other channels can tell you who to draft, but only Brock Lesnar Hoops can show you how to build a team. Man, I love Fiverr. If you pay somebody enough money, they will go on your stream and leave you a kind review. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't meet that guy on Fiverr. That's a guy that really feels that way, and that makes me feel nice. So thank you so much for sharing that, Vincent. Mark Williams. We just talked about Mark Williams a little bit ago. If you can't stomach his injury risk, then I would suggest cutting bait and just not losing sleep. He's a very boom or bust pick. That's what Mark Williams is. This is the best way to put him. Excuse me, guys. Anything else? Should I show you my teams? Yeah, let me show you my teams. Why not? I have you here. I still have 24 of you here. That's wild. I love it. Let me show you my team. Gonna share screen. Let's move this over here. And then let's add it to the stage so that you can see it. But here's one of my teams. Very strong performance. And I missed Luka for my last game. And actually, this is a good idea because then you can see for yourself how it is that I construct my teams and the sort of players that I have. I have Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. So even though I lost Luka, what ended up happening is Austin Reeves had a 50-point game. Let's go look at his game. He had 51 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. So to handcuff Austin Reeves to Luka was definitely the right choice there. I have Devin Vassell. I like his upside as a guy that's going to get me some threes and is going to get me some scoring. Grayson Allen, we talked about him earlier, a nice glue player that has a strong schedule this week. And let me know what you think about my team in the comments. Does it fit the build that I speak of often? Derek Lively, I'm kind of regretting picking him up. I actually considered very strongly dropping him, but then I told myself, gave myself my own advice. Hold off. It's still early. Anthony Davis has made it clear he does not like playing that much center. So that kind of opens up the need for there to be 30-plus minutes from a legitimate center instead of Anthony Davis playing center. But it's disappointing that even with Daniel Gafford playing, he's not playing a ton of minutes. A lot of that is he's pretty foul prone, but that could also be still very early in the season. So I ultimately held off on dropping him. But if you're holding Derek Lively right now, let me know how you're feeling about him because I'm curious. Kevin Durant, feel strongly about him, especially pairing him with Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic whenever I do get him back. Draymond Green has been pretty dope so far this season, and I grab him because he gets you a lot of assists from the center position. His field goal percentage and his free throw percentage are low, but he also doesn't have a ton of volume. So if I build a strong enough team with my field goal and free throw percentage, which is why I overvalue that as far as my core, I can bring somebody like Draymond Green and not really hurt my percentages and still take advantage of the areas in which he does help me, such as the assist from the center position. That's when your teams become really difficult to beat, when you have that sort of flexibility with your roster. And he's only getting you 2.5 turnovers while he's getting you some steals and he's getting you some blocks. So Draymond Green, I'm very happy with where I picked him up. In most leagues where I picked him up around like 110. And right now it says he's producing at a top 56 level. But this Yahoo UI is wonky and untrustworthy. So take that with a grain of salt. Nikola Vucevic, a guy I think almost every season is very undervalued. And I end up drafting him on a lot of different teams. And I end up not regretting him because he's kind of like Jokic, except Jokic gets you a lot of steals and obviously much better production. But Nikola Jokic is the first overall player. Nikola Vucevic is a guy you could grab at 50 to 55, and you're getting like 70% of a Jokic. That's a pretty fair trade-off, and I value him because he can get me a lot of rebounds. He could score, and he could get me some volume scoring. He could get me some volume free throws, and they're both good. And when you pair a lot of players that can help you in both categories on volume, that's when you can then bring a Draymond Green and not hurt your percentages. That's why I also have DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is another guy. You can see here shoots 84% from the free throw line, 47, almost 48% from the field. So that's another, and he helps me with my assist to turnover ratio, which is something else that I value. So when I compare DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic as my support players that can boost my percentages, and I can still draft guys that can get me steals and blocks, maybe with my streaming spots. That's why I have Alex Sarr on my team. I drafted him because I love his 3-and-D potential. He hasn't been taking as many three-pointers this season, which should actually help his field goal percentage, and it has been helping his field goal percentage. But he's getting you now 2 games in a row, got me 3 blocks. I didn't even draft him to get me assists, but he's gotten 3 or more assists 3 games in a row. So just like Draymond, when you can have a center that's getting you defensive numbers and also getting you assists, that's when your team becomes incredibly hard to beat in categories. Show you what other guys I have on my team and how I feel about them. We got Tyrese Maxey, rank of 24 right now. That's because he shot 35% his last game, but he started the season with a 40-point game on 54% shooting, made 7 of his 8 free throws, hit 7 3-pointers. The assist to turnover ratio is great. So if you see what I'm telling you, the players that I drafted fit really nicely together. And I was able to draft this team because I did all of the prep work necessary to know who were the ideal players for my build. A lot of players go into a draft not thinking at all about what their final structure is going to look like. I know what I want my final structure to look like, and then I reverse engineer it with the players that are going to fit that build. That's why I spend so much time with you guys teaching you my benchmarks. I go spend so much time explaining them, and you might be like, wow, why does he keep going over this? Because that's what I want you to do. I want you to visualize the finished product and reverse engineer what it is that you want. And that's why we discuss those benchmarks. All right, who else do I want to discuss on this team? I have a couple others. Khalil Ware, I've been disappointed with him as well. The role hasn't been secure. The minutes haven't been there. He's starting a game, and Jovic is starting a game. And even when he has played, he hasn't been great. His assist to turnover ratio has been putrid. I'm not going to lie. I think I bought into some of the preseason hype. And sometimes when I go into different communities and you guys give me comments and I see other things, and then it can impact my own opinions, because Khalil was originally not a guy I was heavily targeting, but then in preseason he was killing, and now I kind of regret picking him up. I feel similar to him as I do with Lively, in that it's too early for me to give up, and I should still trust my instincts on why I picked him up in the first place. And in this league specifically, double doubles is one of the categories, so that was part of the reason why Lively and Khalil Ware made more sense for me to draft than maybe in a regular 9-category league. But he has been a disappointment so far. If you disagree with me, let me know. Or if you do agree with me, should I drop him or is it too early? I think it's too early to drop him. I think ultimately he'll play himself into a more stable, secure role, and that the production he'll put up, the double doubles he'll put up, will make the heartache I'm dealing with right now worth it. All right. Miles Turner, another one of those unicorns, was able to grab him as well. Even though he started the season off Not happy with how he started off, but a promising development is the fact that he did get me 2 3-pointers in 2 different games and has gotten me at least 2 blocks in all 3 games. And that's why I like him. But I need him to get the field goal percentage closer to 50%. You're playing with Giannis Antetokounmpo, man. The attention that Giannis draws is insane. You're going to be more open than you've ever been in your career. I need you to get it together. My Bucks need you to get it together. And I think he will get it together. He is one of the ultimate unicorns in the NBA, a guy that can get you a lot of threes and a lot of blocks. That makes your build difficult to overcome, which is why I value him as much as I do. All right. We're almost done discussing this team. Just want to show you Davion Mitchell was a streamer I picked up last week. He started off at a blistering start with 16 points. 12 assists. So far, his production has been a lot more pedestrian. I didn't drop anybody too valuable to pick him up, so I'm not upset or anything. But if you did drop somebody incredibly valuable, this is why I tell you to hold off on rushing to pick some of these first or second game flashes in the pan, because then that production normalizes and you might end up regretting dropping a guy who then ends up normalizing his production and producing at the level you drafted him to produce. Davion Mitchell right now is a streamer. Long-term value is a little more questionable, especially once Tyler Hero returns, which shouldn't be for a few months still. Really pick this guy up if you want the potential for assists and the potential for steals, and he's not going to get a bunch of turnovers, but his field goal percentage and his free throw percentage is going to be mediocre. And then I have Luka Doncic. He's the last player. He was my first overall pick. He is injured for the next week. Hopefully, it says he'll be reevaluated in 1 week, so potentially could be longer than that. My only saving grace is that I drafted Austin Reeves, so a lot of that value is going to transfer to Austin Reeves, which is why handcuffing your more injury-prone players to the guy that would benefit if they got injured is a very smart strategy. It worked out for me in this scenario. And even when Luka is healthy, Austin Reeves is still putting up 25 plus points and still producing. So those sort of decisions, if you stack them correctly, are what make you a champion. And that's what makes you a diamond tier. Just not so much knowing what to do. It's more about knowing what not to do. And one of the things you want to know not to do is, if you have an injury prone guy, not have an insurance policy if they do get injured. All right, I'm going to answer some questions and then wrap this video up while we still have some of you guys here. Actually, no, I want to show you one more thing that I think is really cool. Let's look at my matchup. So for my matchup, it's not looking good for me according to these projections against who's next. So I have 48 games remaining. He has 48 games remaining. I'm projected to lose the majority of my categories, but the fantasy basketball wizard gives me a projection of how far away I am in certain categories. So I can see immediately I'm within reach for my assist to turnover ratio. I'm within reach for my projected double doubles. I'm ahead in steals, but not by a huge amount. Rebounding, he's about 21 projected away, which is within reach, but maybe not the category I want to focus on if I am going to stream. Now, points is within 40, so I think I can make up 40 points with just some guys scoring more than they're projected to score. So that's within reach. Free throw percentage, absolutely within reach. That's margin of error. And then field goal percentage, he's projected to do much better from there. And if you want this functionality on your own Yahoo UI, and I believe you can get on ESPN as well. I only play in one ESPN league. Yes, you can have it there. But the fantasy basketball wizard, it's what allows you to have these projections. And what I'll do is I can go and experiment with my team and see how I can, let's say, Derek Lively. It says I'm losing free throw percentage. I am winning blocks. So if I go, what if I got rid of Derek Lively and only played him 2 games? Does that do anything wrong? My free throw percentage went up. My blocks, I'm still winning it. So what if I just don't play him at all? Not playing him at all, my projection just went up. So now I'm projected to go 3-7. So not enough to make a huge difference in the result, but maybe the end result, if I do end up losing, isn't as bad. Or some of these categories, because these are projections, these are not predictions. These are just a calculation and a projection of what you should end up at. So this assist to turnover ratio might actually go in my favor, and now it's 4.6. Or this double-double where he's at 4 and I'm at 4.8. I end up squeaking 2 more double-doubles than projected, and I win that category, and now I win the week just because I was able to project that I was too low on free throw percentage and make the changes that I needed to make. And that's not even the only tool that you get with the Fantasy Basketball Wizard. So I love going here to research. I'll go to transaction trends, and I like to see what diamond players are doing. Who are they picking up and why? Who are the best players in fantasy basketball targeting at this moment? I'll go here, filter by ads. That's available players. Let's do all players. And that's how I come up with a lot of the players that I choose to talk about to you. It's based on these diamond player trends. But one of the things that the Fantasy Basketball Wizard does, it immediately gives me a breakdown of what games that player has coming. This is not a feature of Yahoo. This is the Fantasy Basketball Wizard that allows me to do this. So he has 4 out of 4 games remaining for Cedric Howard. With Trey Jones, 4 out of 4. So I can go down the list and immediately identify who has games and what days they are playing those games. So now I know immediately what the light days are, or if I'm picking the guy that plays 4 games, but the 4 games just happen to be on the heavy days. Like here's one right now. The upcoming games are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So if I'm already loaded up on my heavy days, I'm probably going to avoid picking them up. So if you want that tool, you can go to SportswZRD.com and use my promo code BLH because you get a pretty significant discount on this tool. I have it. I've been using it for years, and the tool only continues to improve. I'm going to have the creator of that tool, Bilal, join me on the stream here in the next few days so he can go into more detail. But if you play competitively, if you play for money, or you just play for bragging rights, having this tool, watching Brock Lesnar hoops, understanding the frameworks that I have built, that is how you end up dominating this fantasy basketball season. That's how we get you to diamonds here, my friends. Don't believe me? Leave a comment and tell me to shut up. Vincent wants to know how I feel about my Harden and Cat team. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. My Harden and Cat team. I believe that was this one right here. Let me see. Is this it? Yep, this is it. I ended up winning last week. So this is one of those leagues where you either win the week or you lose it. And I ended up, let's see. I ended up winning that league 5-4. And let's look into the categories I won because it was a close one. And this is a competitive league too, by the way. It's not a chump league at all. As a matter of fact, let me see if it shows me, lets me show you the team ratings. Here's another tool of the Fantasy Basketball Wizard. It gives you a projection of the entire league. So not only can you see how you're doing against your opponent, but you can see how you matched up versus the rest of the league that week. So if I would have played these 3 teams right here, I would have lost a week, but I would have beat the majority of the other teams. So that can kind of give you an indicator of what teams you have to be careful for, what categories they're beating you in right now today, so that when you match up against them later, maybe I know I'm playing a guy next week that I'm projected to lose 3-5 against, and maybe I can make the perfect pickups for the week I face him, so that then I have an advantage in something that's a weakness. So another great feature of this fantasy basketball wizard. But what I wanted to show you, I think they show you the ratings and levels here. So here are the ratings and levels. So this is a very competitive league. Besides me, top of the rank, you have 4 other diamond tier players. So very competitive league. And then you have 3 platinum players after that. So this is one of the most competitive formats you're going to find on Yahoo. For those of you who think that I only play in taco leagues, now you know it's only partially true. But we're going to go. I want to show you my matchup for last week, since you asked how the team went. So I ended up losing field goal percentage, but dominated free throw percentage. And I've told you guys before, if I'm going to lose one, I want to be elite in the other. And that's a pretty great indicator of that right there, with 44% being below average, but 86% across all my players. That's elite free throw percentage. 85 3-pointers made. That's because I overvalue those big men to get you threes. That's why I'm able to almost double the amount of 3-pointers that he had. So I lost points, I lost rebounds, and I lost assists. But guess what I won? I won steals, I won blocks, and I won turnovers. Is that not the big 5 categories that I tell you guys that I overvalue? Is that not the breakdown that I give you every single video, where I tell you I'm okay not being the best in points, rebounds, and assists? People overvalue those, and they overvalue those, and then they lose the margin categories. Here's a perfect example. Now, it's not like I destroyed him. He could have ended up beating me in steals. He could have ended up beating me in blocks. But despite him winning assists, I won turnovers. So what difference does it make if you win assists every week if you're going to lose turnovers every week? And even then, I was within 13 assists from him. So I could have potentially still beat him in assists and still been competitive in turnovers. So that's why I tell you all the time to really protect your percentages, really target those steals and blocks, keep the turnovers low, and target guys that can get you 3-pointers. I want my big men to get me 3-pointers. I don't want more than like 2 guys on my roster that get me no 3-pointers, which is why I kind of feel iffy about having Khalil Ware, having Lively, and also having Draymond Green, who doesn't get you a ton of threes, though he can get you some. What do you think of that team I just showed you? Do you feel it fits the Brock Lesnar hoops build that I was just telling you about? I feel like I just showed you 2 different teams of mine that I've put together, and both of them in competitive leagues. We can go look at that other league, because that one's pretty competitive as well. Let's go look at it again. Actually, this is a 3rd team of mine. I want to show you one of my other leagues. This is one of my subscriber leagues, and I was able to win against a diamond tier player. This guy actually has a better rating than me. Good friend of mine, watches the channel. I've been competing against him long before I had a channel. See if we could look up the levels here on this league. Yeah, look, he's ahead of me. There's 2 people in this league ahead of me. Tyler reached out to me. He's a viewer of this channel, reached out to me when I asked who wanted to play my subscriber leagues. He sent me an email to the BarackLesnar@gmail.com, where you can email me too, because I'm thinking of creating a few more subscriber leagues, but I need to have enough interest to do that. So I'm letting people email me, and once I get enough emails, I will reach out and say, hey, we're going to do a league. It's a $100 buy-in. You need to be able to join League Safe, and we're drafting on this day. And then you might be covered on this video too, just like I covered Tyler. But this league is almost all platinum and diamond tier players, with only 2 players not qualifying. And I know Jeremy's a friend of mine, and he's a strong player. I think he doesn't play in a ton of leagues, but he's not a chump by any means. So this is a very serious competitive league. And I want to show you my team so that you can see I try to be very consistent between the advice I give you and how I actually build my teams and strategize. So in this one, I have James Harden. And again, this is a much deeper format. There's a lot more roster spots, and it's also 12 teams. So you're going to see a lot of fringe value on my roster. But James Harden, Ben Shepherd, I picked him up as a streamer while Andrew Nembhard is out with an injury. Peyton Pritchard had a very strong game. I felt he started off pretty weak, but last game got you a double-double with 21 points. Made 8 of his 16 shots, got me 4 assists, only 1 turnover. That's the sort of production I wanted when I used like a top 70 pick on him. Dante DiVincenzo, a guy I really like because he has the ability to get me threes and steals. Jimmy Butler, I like him not only because of his schedule this week, but another guy that can get me a lot of points efficiently. You can see, look, 50% from the field, 82% from the free throw line. It's going to get me steals, isn't going to turn the ball over a lot. The problem with Jimmy is he is an injury liability. Then I have Mikal Bridges, another guy, high field goal percentage, high free throw percentage, is getting me threes, can score for me, and can keep the turnovers low. These players all fit the build. Now, Chris Middleton, probably wouldn't have him in a 12-team league, and after starting off really strong his first game, has normalized, but he's still getting 20 or more minutes, and in this deeper format, he's worthy of being on my roster. But in a 12-team league, if you have him, you could probably move on. Keldon Johnson, I told you I picked him up yesterday, and he ended up playing 29 minutes, made 19 points, 6 rebounds, hit 2 3-pointers, made 5 of his 9 shots. Did get me a steal, didn't get me any turnovers. Not a guy I'm picking up for assists, not a guy I'm picking up for steals and blocks. But if he can help my field goal percentage with some volume scoring, that is something that I value. John Collins, even though he hasn't had the greatest start to his season, I think it's actually it's not too bad. The turnovers is what I don't like. I don't want my big man getting me 4 turnovers, but he's stealing the ball. He did get you 2 blocks the first game, but typically I want to see more blocks from him, at least 1 per game. Still a very small sample size. He can get you at least 1 3-pointer per game, and the field goal percentage, 52%, free throw percentage, 87%. And the Clippers also have a very strong fantasy basketball playoff schedule in a lot of different settings. So look at what your playoff schedule is. That's why I overvalue John Collins, and that's why I have him on my team. But you see consistently, I have these guys with a really high field goal percentage, a really high free throw percentage, and they're doing it on volume. So they're doing it on several shot attempts. They're doing it on several free throw attempts. And they're also getting me 3 steals, blocks, and they're not turning over the ball a lot, even though in this scenario, John Collins is turning the ball over way more than he's getting me assists. Typically, I don't like a negative assist to turnover ratio, but he's helping me in enough of the benchmarks I value that I'm going to deal with it. Who else can we discuss? Brook Lopez, same situation, except the minutes aren't there. We knew that going into the season. I was optimistic he would get closer to 20 to 25 minutes than the 15 to 19 that he's been getting, even in limited minutes. I mean, he's gotten you 5 blocks combined in the last 2 games. For a deep format, he deserves to be on my roster. And again, with that Clippers schedule, he's a guy that can help me with my threes and my blocks. So 2 3-pointers made from the big man position, 51% from the field. Even though it's not on a lot of volume, it's still useful production for such a deep format. Keon Ellis, normally pick him up, especially because of his ability to get you some threes and also get you a good amount of steals. So I pick him up as a steal specialist that isn't going to turn the ball over a lot. So now you see me strengthening up my steals and blocks with a player like Keon Ellis with one of my last picks. So at the same time, Brook Lopez is boosting my blocks, Keon Ellis is boosting those steals. And if you build your team right, that's where these fringe players are suddenly so much more valuable because they fit my build. They're not hurting my percentages. They're getting me those steals and blocks, and they're not hurting my turnovers. And I'm not tripping as much about the points the rebounds and the assists, even though I do value them. I don't ignore them completely. I'm just not going to sacrifice my field goal percentage, my free throw percentage, my turnovers, or my steals and my blocks in pursuit of points, rebounds, and assists. I'm just not going to do that. Normally, I'm just going to target guys that can do those things while still meeting the efficiency metrics that I want. One of those guys is Norman Powell. This is actually a trade I made, and I'm curious what you guys think. So originally, I drafted Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I also had Joel Embiid. I think I got too cute with that draft and immediately regretted drafting Giannis Antetokounmpo. And people might think I'm crazy regretting drafting Giannis Antetokounmpo. The thing is, if you've been listening to me, I value free throw percentage a lot. And Giannis destroys my free throw percentage. Giannis does not get a lot of steals and blocks. He did once upon a time. So already you're talking about 3 of the categories I value. He's essentially hurting me in. He can turn over the ball a lot. So that's another category that hurts me. Yes, he's going to get me a ton of points. He's going to get me a ton of rebounds. He's going to get me a great amount of assists. But he also doesn't get me a lot of threes. Now, if you've been listening to my format, my framework, Giannis is the exact opposite player of how I like to build my team. So if I grab all these players I've been showing you all video and then put Giannis there, not only are they not helping Giannis's weaknesses, and all of a sudden Vucevic isn't helpful because he's not getting me steals and blocks either. DeRozan isn't getting me steals and blocks either. And Giannis is destroying how efficient they are from the free throw line. It doesn't matter how efficient they are. Giannis has just destroyed that. So now they're all worse, and my build in general is worse. And now I'm losing every week 4 to 5, and I'm wondering why, even though I have Giannis. I have all these strong players, and I keep losing. Chances are they're not efficient. They're turning the ball over, and they're not getting these steals and blocks. That's why you find your team losing. And this is a revelation I had like 10 years ago. When I played a guy, he had Robin Lopez. That's the only player I remember he had. But he had a bunch of no-name players. And I was loaded. I had Blake Griffin. I had Andre Drummond. I had all these double-double monsters. And I'm like, they're scoring, they're rebounding, they're getting assists. I didn't care about field goal percentage. I didn't care about free throw percentage. I didn't care about turnovers. These guys are all-stars. They're gonna just no one's gonna be able to stop me. And then this guy with Robin Lopez, every time I played him, just crushed me. Would crush me. I couldn't win more than like 3 categories, and I would be so confused. And why? How is this guy with a bunch of role players beating my all-star stacked Monstar team? And then I looked into the categories he was winning, and then I realized, man, Robin Lopez has a really high free throw percentage for a guy that's getting him a lot of blocks. And he also has a really high field goal percentage. And Robin Lopez is also not turning the ball over a lot. And then I realized he was beating me in all the categories I was ignoring. And that was such an aha moment in my mind. And ever since then, that's when I really activated. And that's when I went from being like a platinum, a decent, strong player to just a really dominant fantasy basketball player when I made that realization. And ever since, that strategy has survived different eras. Steph Curry had not changed the NBA yet, and it still works to this day. Apply it to your own teams and let me know what success you have. I'm going to wrap up this team. I'm sorry. This is why I don't do live streams. This is why I have to do an edited video so I can shut myself up via editing. Anthony Davis, I didn't draft. Like I told you, I had Giannis, and I traded Giannis away along with Joel Embiid, and I traded away like a backup center on the 76ers. And I got in return Anthony Davis, Nikola Vucevic, who I told you I love, and I also got Norman Powell. So I converted essentially one of my worst picks into Norman Powell, but I had to give up Giannis. And this guy made me the offer, which was a great offer. And he clearly reviewed my team and knew, A, I did not like the fit of those players on my team. B, he knew exactly what to offer me to want to make me want to take that pick. Because if you look at the players I picked up, they also fit my build. Norman Powell, another guy that's getting you threes, is getting you scoring, is getting you steals, and the field goal percentage and the free throw percentage are high. So he's helping me there on volume. So perfect fit. Already told you about Vucevic. We talked about him, but 53% from the field, 80% from the free throw line, also getting me threes, getting me a double-double, getting me some out-of-position assists. The turnovers are not that high. He's keeping them under 2. Do I care that he's barely getting me steals and blocks? No, whatever. He's helping me in these areas I value. Franz Wagner. Again, 47% from the field for a wing. Not bad at all. Pretty strong. 86% from the free throw line. Almost 2 3-pointers made. He's scoring, rebounding, getting me assists. He's getting me steals. The turnovers, 2.3. Not that bad at all when you have guys picking up, guys turning the ball over 3.5, 4, sometimes even 5 times per game. That 2.3 is nothing. And the Orlando Magic are another team that have a very strong fantasy basketball playoff schedule at the end of the season. I also have Goga Bitadze, and I pick him up mostly as a block streamer. The minutes are not consistent. He doesn't play more minutes than like 17 to 18, 20 if you're lucky. And if Wendell Carter Jr. is healthy, he's just typically not going to get enough production. But in this deeper format, he does get me a lot of rebounds. He can get me a good amount of blocks in limited minutes, so it makes sense for me to have him rostered. Because even with all things considered, in those limited minutes, he is a rank of 103 right now, and that's mostly because of the really high field goal percentage, the decent amount of rebounds, and the shot blocking potential, and he doesn't turn over the ball a lot. And even when he does hurt you from the free throw line, he actually hasn't even been hurting you that much, but he typically doesn't take enough to make a huge dent in either direction. And then we have Reed Shepherd, who we discussed earlier in the video. I picked him up because of his steals potential, his assist potential. The steals potential has been proven. He's getting threes as well. 4 steals combined the last 2 games, 5 3-pointers combined the last 2 games. But he also has 5 turnovers combined the last 2 games and is shooting 27% from the field the last 2 games, which is horrible. I hate that. He's hurting my free throw percentage as well. So his ownership is dropping like cement shoes on a victim of the mafia being thrown into the bay. That's how quickly he's being dropped. So if you want to give up on him, it looks like a lot of people already have. I still think it's too early. We saw in preseason what he was capable of. I think we'll see him do better than he's doing. But if you choose to cut bait, I probably would have drafted somebody else based on how he started. But in this deep format, his upside is probably much better than whatever I'm going to find on the waiver wire. And lastly, my advice I always have in any of my leagues, make sure you're using your IL slots on players that are injured. These are assets, and your IL slots should never be empty. I see so many teams with empty IL slots, and it frustrates me because you're essentially giving up the opportunity to control these assets. By that, I mean no one else can pick them up if they're in your IL slot, so that means you own them, which means you have flexibility for trades now. You can use them as sweeteners, or if you know, let's say I know DeJounte Murray and Jaden Ivey are on the verge of returning and helping my team. Now, all of a sudden, maybe I'm like, you know what? Norman Powell is disposable for me. I'm going to package him with Peyton Pritchard, and I'm going to bring a really strong player, and then I'm going to activate DeJounte Murray. And essentially, I gained a very strong player, and DeJounte Murray replaced the overage I had to give up to get that strong player. That's why I tell you the IL slots are so valuable. And if you're not using them to their full capacity, you're giving up a lot of potential value. You're giving up a lot of ammunition in trade. You're giving up a lot of leverage. The season will pass, and these guys will become valuable quick. The moment it's heard, oh, yeah, he's coming back next week, these guys are going to be tremendously valuable. But right now, since it's so early in the season, people don't care about him, and you can get him pretty easily. So if you have that free IL slot, please make sure you're using him. DeJounte Murray's only 32% roster, so he might be on your waiver wire right now. Jaden Ivey, I know he's gone for like the next month. He had surgery on his knee, but when he was healthy last season, he was averaging 17.6 points per game with 4 assists, 46% from the field on 14 field goal attempts. The free throw line, not great there, but a lot of potential to be the second option on that young Detroit Pistons team for a guy that's widely available. So the moral to the story is use your IL slots if you are not. All right. Let me see. I'm going to go and see some of the comments. VJ Edgecombe, is he a flash in the pan product in your opinion or good money? Nah, man, he's really athletic. The team already said they want him to start. So that's a great sign. I don't think it's a flash in the pan. Will that be as good as he's going to be? No, I think you would want to temper your expectations, but I think realistically, he can be a guy that helps your team in a 12-team league. What I really consider with a guy is the role secure or the minutes secured. Will he have the opportunity to keep showing off his natural talents? If the minutes are not there, then don't take the chance. If the minutes are there, they should be there, but also Paul George hasn't returned. So how does Paul George factor into the minutes? If Paul George is back and healthy, if Joel Embiid is playing, does he get enough touches to be useful? We haven't seen what that looks like, and until we have, we can't really make a smart determination either way. He's shown enough upside that you want to hold him until we are able to cross that bridge. Vincent says he won 5-3 because my point guard after 75 video helped him. That's what I love to hear, man. That's what I want my videos to do above all else, is help you guys have as much success as possible with your fantasy leagues. Just a bold creation. How did I get a badge? Are you talking about my diamond tier badge? If you play on Yahoo, you get a rating based on your record. So if you're on Yahoo, you should have a badge, and you could go to it the way I just showed you. You go to your league, and then there's something that says view team ratings, and it should show you what your rating is, if that's what you're referring to. What do you think about Bub Carrington? I just dropped him earlier. It looks like I picked the wrong young player to bank on. I thought he would be doing what Keyshawn George is doing right now, and he still has the potential to. But you also have CJ McCollum there kind of playing the same role, taking a lot of touches. Still very early, but I want to watch him from the waiver wire for right now and see more consistency. And also, you don't even have Bilal Coulibaly back in the mix yet. Once he returns, that's going to throw things in flux. Shaden Sharp, ton of potential as a scorer. His free throw percentage doesn't tend to be as high as I want it, so he tends to be one of those guys that I don't target heavily, but I think he's useful in a lot of different builds, and the Blazers seem to really prioritize him, and he should have enough usage and touches and shots to be helpful, but I don't think I'll be targeting him heavily. Guys like Jaylen Brown, he kind of reminds me of like a Jaylen Brown where he can score, but Jaylen Brown's another guy, even though he's a great scorer that helps you in different categories. His free throw percentage doesn't tend to be where I want it. The steals and blocks aren't where I want him. He tends to be more turnover prone that I like. The assist to turnover ratio isn't ideal. They're like small things, but by reducing the amount of players like that I have on my team, the closer I can get to my ideal build. The MVP is here. The MVP is you guys that sit here and watch my videos. Smash that like button for me. Subscribe. Click the bell notification. Truly, you're the reason that I do this, and I want you to know how much it means to me. So if you can continue supporting me, continue leaving your comments, continue watching my videos every week until the end, I'm eternally grateful to all of you. You're the real MVP. So thoughts on Cason Wallace? I love Wallace, because he fits my build as a guy that helps your percentages, gets threes, gets you a lot of steals, not a lot of turnovers. And since I don't overvalue points, rebounds, and assists, he tends to be more valuable for my build than he is to somebody that does overvalue that volume production. He's another one of those sneaky guys that you can pair with a Keon Ellis, you can pair with a Brook Lopez, and you're just sneaking by with really strong steals and blocks, and you're sneaking by with stronger rebounding than they're expecting. And when they look, they're like, who's Goga? I don't know who Goga is. Who's Keon? I don't know any Keons, but they're losing steals, blocks, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, turnovers to you, and probably losing threes as well. I drafted both Paul George and VJ, so I cupped them. Smart, always smart to have a hedge. How many players that miss back-to-back games is too many? I'd say you want one max, because you have to consider the thing with the back-to-back guys, the game they missed, now you have to pick up a player just to make up the game that one of your core pieces just missed. So now you have multiple players doing that. Now you've just used 2 pickups just to get back to where you would have been if you had a guy that isn't missing back-to-back. So I would say one max, and they have to have huge upside. Huge upside. If they're not scoring the hell out of the ball, if they're not getting you a bunch of blocks when they play, if they're not boosting your field goal percentage, I'm talking guys like Kristaps Porzingis and Mark Williams. You don't want 2 of them. You want one of them at most, but they have to be like top of the league guys when they do play. Thoughts on Keyshawn George from the Wizards? I love his upside. His last game was more pedestrian, but those first 2 games showed the upside he possesses. And last year he did well also. This is only his 2nd season. The Wizards clearly really prioritize him. So I think even once Bilal comes back, he should have a fairly strong role. So hold on to him for right now. I would hold on to him for the next week or so, at least, before I would even consider dropping him. And I'm talking about in a scenario where he lays a few bad games in a row. I wouldn't panic drop right away because he's really showing his upside. Is head-to-head or cumulative scoring better in categories? Let me make sure I'm understanding the question. So that's like win one for the week where you end up with the final record like I won 15 and lost 3 versus I won 7 categories this week and adding them up over the season. I like cumulative. If that's what you're talking about, I prefer that because you still get rewarded for a very strong week. Sometimes maybe you just lost a category by like a hair, but you can still walk away with 4 wins versus in those scenarios where it's a really close matchup and then you only get the loss registered and that loss counts the same as a guy who got destroyed that week. I feel like that format's not as fair. It's more competitive for sure, and it makes you be more on your P's and Q's because there's more value in a week. But I find it more fun when I can accumulate my wins. Tari or Jabari? I like Jabari's ability to get you threes. I like how young he is and still think he has a lot of upside to break out. And I think he stretches the floor enough to be more useful to the offense. Now, defensively, Tari's going to be a better option. But I think I would lean Jabari if given the option between both. All right, guys, I've been going on for an hour and 15 minutes. I think that's been enough, and I'm sure you agree as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned. On Wednesday, I'm planning on dropping a video on how you should target the early season. And by that, I mean a group of rules that we're going to go over, things for you not to do, things you should be doing, how you should be acting, how you should be treating your streaming spots. The whole purpose is for you to travel this season with me and me show you exactly how I handle every aspect of every part of the season, because the things you do in week number 2 are drastically different than the things you're going to be doing in week 15. So I want to break everything down throughout the season. And Wednesday, I think it might be one of the most informative videos I have dropped yet. So I hope you can tune in for that when I drop that in a couple of days. Until next time, this has been Brock Lesnar of Brock Lesnar Hoops. Smash that like button for me, like Murray said, and it's be able to drop. I don't know. We discussed that earlier. Rewatch the video. This would be my recommendation. God, stop asking me stuff. I'm trying to leave, but I can't just leave you hanging. So that's the last one I'm gonna answer. Trey, Bam Bridges, Kyle Brenner, Cam Thomas, OG, Carl Anthony, Josh Hart, Herbert, Suggs, Draymond, Okongwu. I've got roasted in the Reddit thread. The comments. I don't see anything wrong with that team per se. I'm assuming Ban is Bam. Trey, the issue with Trey Young is he kind of doesn't fit as great with some of the other pieces you have, because you have some guys like Okongwu and Carl Anthony Towns that really help your free throw and field goal percentage. And Cam Thomas has been helping you there as well. And Josh Hart has the ability to help you there. So having Trey kind of offsets the benefit that you get from those guys. So I think maybe that's what they're making fun of. And you don't have enough steals guys. I mean, you have a couple. You got Herbert, you got Suggs, but Suggs is an injury liability. So it's less reliable. Bam can get you some steals, but Bam's been off to a rough start as far as his efficiency and turnovers. So you kind of have some mismatched pieces. You have some really strong assets. So I think Trey, like I said with Giannis earlier, is one of those guys that I'm just normally don't target because he hurts me so much from my field goal percentage. He doesn't get me any steals, any blocks, and he does turn over the ball a lot. And since I don't overvalue his assist and his scoring, I tend to not target him. So that might be why you're getting roasted. And then Bam is similar in that way. So loading up on both of those guys, you just end up losing the percentages. You end up losing turnovers, and then they don't get you enough steals and blocks for you to be competitive there. And you just end up winning like maybe the volume categories, and you end up losing 5-4, or you end up winning just 3 categories and they win 6. That's what ends up happening if you're not optimized. How can I fix? I would look to move Trey Young. Oh, it's Bane, then yes. Not Bam, then Bane I like. Sorry, I assumed that was Bam instead of Bane. Kind of fits what I'm saying. Bane is very efficient, doesn't get you a ton of assists, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, can be efficient from the field, from the free throw line. You just have a lot of pieces that actually fit my build, but Trey Young is not a piece that fits my build. And I think that's the disconnect that you're having. Also, let me see. Do you have enough engines? Cam Thomas is an engine, just doesn't get you a lot of steals and blocks. Carl Anthony Towns isn't getting you a ton of steals and blocks. You don't really have any shot blockers. So you're kind of punting shot blocking too. So if you could trade Trey and bring back somebody that can be a more efficient scorer, maybe you sacrifice some assists, but maybe you can also bring back a piece that helps you with your shot blocking, and then you can normalize your turnovers and give a huge boost to your field goal percentage without hurting your free throw percentage, and maybe even boosting your threes. I think you'll find your team a little more well-rounded. Is Norman Powell a sell high this year? I'm a punt free throw Giannis team and don't know what to do with him. I would definitely sell him if you're punting free throws. It would make more sense for you to trade him for somebody that's going to help you with your steals and blocks and get you a really high really high field goal percentage. I think he could be sustainable, though. He was pretty sustainable last year on a loaded Clippers team. So I think even at full health, he's going to have a reliable role. You are very welcome. And hey, man, don't listen to Reddit. Is one of the most miserable places on planet Earth. It's a bunch of incels. and they often don't know nearly as much as they pretend they do. So just don't even listen to it. They've talked crap to me, and I have more credentials than the majority of the clowns that would say something. But you got to be above the fray and just get the results. And even if you didn't build the ideal team right now, there are so many waiver wire pickups we're going to discuss throughout these weeks. We're going to pick up guys that are on the waiver wire right now who are going to end up being top 25, top 30, top 35, top 40 players. And we just have not discovered them yet. And we will discover them together. So use that as motivation, win, and then just know that you dealt with a clown that didn't know what they were talking about. That happens to me all the time. All right, guys, I'm going to really go now. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this is Brock Lesnar of Brock Lesnar Hoops. See you.